Hello friends, it is Sandy and I am here for Emily Moore Designs. I have created this new, really sweet and pretty card using her new full circle collection. There are so many fun new little pieces to her die sets along with a couple of stamp sets that are just wonderful. All right, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdill or on my blog www. I don't know why I do that. sandycogdilldesigns.com. Okay, let's get started. Now, I love pattern paper and I especially like tone-on-tone pattern paper, but sometimes you just can't find what you're looking for. So that's where ink blending and stencils come into play, and they are an important part of my card making. I am going to be using the new Dainty Dots 6x6 stencil to create 3 different colors of pattern paper for this card. All right. I am starting with 3 different colors of ink. The first one I'm going to be using is Blue Raspberry. Now that's a Catherine Pooler ink, and that is available in the Emily's shop. I have a piece of cardstock that I have cut at 5.5 by 5.5. I have put it on one of my clingy crafty mats. That just helps me keep my paper from not moving, and more importantly, it will help keep that stencil in place. So what I'm doing here is I am just going to really softly place some of that ink along that whole white background. I don't want to do it too heavy because once I get to stenciling, I want to give a little bit more pressure to get the colors to come through the stencil, but not be puddled. Now the stencil set has 3 different stencils, and my favorite one is this one with the little daisies on it. And the blue raspberry was my favorite color, so I'm going to combine those 2 together. I'm just going to lay that stencil over my cardstock there, press it down on my little crafty mat, and then I'm going to lay in a darker layer of blue raspberry just to give it a tone-on-tone look. Next, I'm going to be using Sparkling Berry Catherine Pooler ink for this pink color. And I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm going to put it on my sticky mat, do a light coat of ink on my white cardstock, and then follow up with the stencil. And for my final color, I am using Catherine Pooler's Aquatini ink. And I'm doing the exact same thing with that final stencil piece. As you can see here, I have just created 3 pieces of beautiful tone-on-tone paper with those 3 colors of ink using the Dainty Dots stencil. Next, I'm going to be using the Gentle Reminders stamp set, and this has some really sweet and inspirational sayings on it. I'm just going to select one of them, and then I'm going to stamp it on another piece of cardstock that I have just inked with some of the blue raspberry Catherine Pooler ink. To cut out this sentiment, I'm going to be using the new Decorative Circles Die Set. I will be using the middle-sized die one, and this one just works perfectly for that particular sentiment. So I'll get that lined up and then run it through my die cutting machine. As I do with most of my die cuts, I do dust up my edges a little bit with some ink. That just helps give it a little bit of dimension and definition. For the main focus piece on my card, I am using the new Doiles and Daises Circles Die Set. I selected the largest of the one that's just a little bit more dainty than the flower shape, and I'm going to be cutting that out of white cardstock. Now, some of those little bits and pieces kind of stay on my acrylic sheets and others stay in my die, and that's not a problem. I always have a little bowl set to the side there where I can just kind of poke those pieces out and hopefully keep them from landing on the floor. I'm going to cut what is going to be the background on my card to 5 1/4 by 4, which is just a little bit smaller than an A2 size. I will be applying all of these pieces to a piece of A2 cardstock cut at the 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 size. I'm going to be using the new buttons die set, and I love this set because I always need buttons to kind of fill in spaces, but I don't always have the right color or the size, and this one just totally fits the bill. I selected the large heart, and I will cut that out from my pink pattern paper that I made. While you can surely leave those thread holes empty on all of those button dies, I decided, since this was such a feminine and dainty card, I wanted to add a little bit of ribbon to my heart. So I'm using a small piece of organza ribbon that's a little bit wide for this particular die, but I made it work. I felt like this card needed just a little bit more to it, so I went to my lace stash and I cut a piece off, and I'm going to just use some double-sided adhesive on the back of that panel to get the lace glued down, just making sure that it's nice and straight across the bottom. Next, I'm going to glue my large white doily to my card panel, and I'm going to leave it hanging off that side just a little bit. I want it off center. I got a little bit ahead of myself and started gluing that panel to place on my card base and forgot that I hadn't trimmed off that doily. And sometimes I leave those hanging off onto the A2 size, but this one, since it was the same color, I just felt like it needed to be trimmed, so that's what I did. Now it's time to add my sentiment to the white doily. I did find that I needed to break up that color a little bit, so I went to my stash and I did cut out a circle that was just slightly larger than the sentiment circle, just to kind of give that a border and kind of tie the whole card together, since my heart down in the bottom was pink also. And to finish the construction of this card, I'm just going to glue down my sentiment in the center of that doily and add my little heart down at the bottom right hand corner. Oops, one final thing. I like to put a little bit of bling on most of my cards, so I am just going to add a few little sparkle hearts to that upper right hand corner and the lower left hand corner. And that pretty much does it for this card. I will list and link all of the goodies that I used to create this card down below. I also encourage you to hop by Emily's shop. She has some really fun and unique dies, and they all tie together so well. You might just find something that would really enhance your card making creativity. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time, and until next time, bye-bye.